We have this idea that being smart means you've memorized a ton of facts or you have this perfect memory. But what if that's not it at all? What if real intelligence is actually a set of skills, skills that you can learn? Let's dive into a way of thinking that can seriously put you ahead of the curve. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? The whole myth that smarter people are just walking encyclopedias, it's just not true. The real difference isn't about the amount of information rattling around in your head, it's about the quality of your thinking. So, if it's not about knowing more stuff, then what's the secret sauce? What is it that really separates those people who seem to just calmly navigate challenges from, well, everyone else? And here it is. Real intelligence is all about habits. It's how you look at a problem, how you deal with other people, and how you manage your own thoughts. And the best part, these are habits that literally anyone can build. So let's break down the very first one. Okay, this first one is a total game changer for pretty much any conversation or disagreement you'll ever have. It's about making a simple shift from trying to win to trying to learn. So just look at the difference here. The standard reaction, the one we all jump to, is to turn a disagreement into a fight, right? You dig your heels in, you get defensive, you try to prove you're right and they're wrong. But the smart response completely flips that on its head. Instead of attacking, you get curious. This one little phrase is like a secret weapon. And it's not a trick, it's a real invitation. The second you stop fighting and start asking a question like this, the other person's defenses just drop. They open up. And that, right there, is where real communication and real learning actually begins. All right, habit number 2 is all about how we deal with those daily frustrations and setbacks. It's so easy to get sucked into the panic of one bad moment. This habit is all about learning to just zoom out. Come on, we've all been there, right? You bomb a test, and your first thought is, that's it, I'm a total failure. A project at work goes sideways, and it feels like your whole career is imploding. That's panic. The smart response, though, is to treat that one event not as a disaster, but as a single piece of data. And this shows you exactly how to do it. So instead of obsessing over the failed test itself, you zoom out. You start looking for the pattern. How have my study habits been? Am I actually getting enough sleep? And all of a sudden, the problem isn't I'm dumb, it's a puzzle you can solve. Okay, how can I prep a little differently next time? Now this habit, this one is huge. It's all about protecting your most precious resource, your mental energy. So many of us just waste it day after day worrying about things we have absolutely zero control over. Just look at this table. It makes it so clear, doesn't it? You can't control if it rains, but you can definitely decide to bring an umbrella. You can't control if someone else hires you, but you 100% control how much effort you put into that interview. The whole trick is to just draw a line in your mind between these two columns and decide you're only going to pour your energy into the one on the right. Okay, these next two habits are kind of like a power couple. They work together and they're all about mastering those little moments in between the action. It starts with learning to see silence as a tool, not something to be afraid of. Most people get really uncomfortable with silence in a conversation. We feel this pressure to just fill it, and we blurt out the first thing that comes to mind. But smart thinkers, they see it totally differently. For them, silence isn't empty space, it's thinking space. It's their chance to actually listen and come up with a response that's thoughtful. And here is a super simple, practical way to start building that thinking space for yourself. The next time somebody asks you a question, especially a tough one, just mentally count to 3 before you say anything. It sounds almost too easy, I know, but that tiny little pause is what sets you up for the next crucial habit. Choosing how to respond instead of just reacting. And that pause, that's what makes this possible. Look, the difference between a reaction and a response is, well, it's everything. A reaction is that gut instinct, it's emotional, and it's usually something we end up regretting later. But a response is chosen. When you create that tiny gap just by taking one deep breath, you give yourself the superpower to choose a smart response instead of just giving in to an emotional reaction. So, we've walked through these incredibly powerful habits of thought. Now, let's talk about what actually happens when you start weaving them into your everyday life. What does that transformation really look like? So here they are, all together in one place. See? These aren't some complicated academic theories. They're just simple, practical shifts in how you approach things. And when you start practicing them, some pretty amazing things start to happen. This is the first big change you'll notice. By learning to zoom out and focus only on what you can control, your brain literally starts to rewire itself. Problems don't feel like brick walls anymore. They start to look like interesting puzzles that you can actually solve. And honestly, this might be the greatest benefit of all. When everyone around you is freaking out, reacting emotionally, panicking, arguing, you'll be the one who can pause, think clearly, and respond calmly. And trust me, people will start to notice. So you might be thinking, okay, this all sounds great, but where in the world do I even start? The key, and this is so important, is not to get overwhelmed by trying to do it all at once. That's it. Seriously, just pick one. Maybe for this week, your only goal is to pause before you react. Or maybe you're just going to focus on asking, help me understand, instead of jumping into an argument. You just master one, then you can move on to the next. That small, consistent practice, that's what builds real intelligence. And let's just end on this thought. This isn't about being better than other people. Not at all. It's about taking control of your own mind, the power to choose your response, the ability to see clearly when everything is chaotic. That is the ultimate advantage. That's what real intelligence truly looks like.